Did you hear about Peter? It's very unfortunate what happened. I mean, he made a sacrifice. He made a very great sacrifice for the rest of us. One of my favorite whiskies is a very peaty whiskey. It's called Lefroy. I like some other peaty whiskies as well, but they were running out. And so they burned Peter to make the whiskey. And it gave off a wonderful smoky smell, smoky taste, and that was very unfortunate. But hey ho, we can't all be trees. We can't all be trees. I mean, some people get buried under trees and they grow in the future, and that's who they want to be. That's the way life is, and the birds, they land on the trees and they make their little nests, they make their little families in the trees. Then the little birds fly off. I don't know what kind of bird it is. Maybe it's a raven. Maybe it's a seagull. Maybe it's a seagull that belongs to Steven Seagal. Maybe that seagull goes back to him and it takes the DNA from the tree, and before you know it, the person who became the tree is now on Steven Seagal's lawn chair. And now Steven Seagal's got some celebrity friend over and they're sitting on the lawn chair. And that DNA of yours, or that person that became the tree, is now on that person. And before you know it, you're like traveling the world on someone's back. You could never have dreamed of this when you were alive, but it's happening anyway, whether you liked it or not. It's just unfortunate you died before any of this came to pass. It's like all these artists, like these great artists who are very good at drawing, like Beethoven. Like I know he was like a fantastic oil painter, but he never got famous until after he died, and his work started selling for millions. That's really unfortunate for him. I mean, I was always amazed that a dog could draw, or a dog could paint. And I would have thought that people would have acknowledged that a dog painting would have been a big thing at the time. I don't know why wasn't until after the dog died that suddenly he got recognition for being a great oil painter. That poor St. Bernard. I mean, I don't know. I'm guessing that's why they name all these like orphanages after St. Bernard, because they felt bad about it. They felt bad about what happened to Beethoven. That it really does upset me, you know. I don't want that to be me one day. I don't want all my work to be nothing while I'm alive, and then suddenly I'm dead, and then everyone remembers after, like I'm dead, and then everyone's gonna acknowledge it. Like that's really sucky. That would be awful. I'm a selfish man. I don't want people to acknowledge me after I'm dead. Like, how am I going to benefit from that? Screw everyone else. So this speaker sitting here, this speaker is like staring at me. It's got two eyes, it's got a little dial on it, and it's sitting like perfectly in the middle of the volume control, and this little green light staring at me in the eye. And it just makes me think back to that Jimmy Neutron movie. You know, the one where the aliens invade and they're all like, they turn into like fried eggs or something when someone shoots them. That's what that reminds me of at the moment, and that's all I can think about, because I don't want to be one of those alien. Like, what if those alien people are real? What if this is what's going to happen? This is the end of the world. These aliens are going to like fly all the way over here, and they're these little green things, and they're wearing these little helmets, and maybe all we need to do to beat them, they're like vampires. Expose them to the sun, and they're going to turn into fried eggs. I mean, that's not to say vampires turn into fried eggs in the sun. I mean, maybe it is like the whole thing, like vampires can't go in the daylight, they can't go in the sun. Maybe it's because they turn into fried eggs. Maybe it has nothing to do with, oh, I'm going to die. Maybe it's just maybe they're going to turn into fried eggs, and maybe all vampires are allergic to eggs, and maybe that is where that comes from. That could make sense. Like, when was the last time you saw a vampire out in the day? When was the last time you saw a fried egg on the side of the street? If you ever seen an egg on the street and it was fried, it was probably a vampire. That's what I'm kind of thinking at the moment. I mean, it could have been the aliens, I guess. Alien or vampire. What is more likely to be on the Earth? Probably the aliens. Probably the aliens. Unless you go to like Transylvania, then maybe then you're going to be... If you see an egg in Transylvania on the side of the street, yeah, there's no way. Unless the aliens are hiding in Transylvania under the guise of being a vampire, because they know someone like me is going to work this out eventually, and so the aliens are actually like hiding in Transylvania, pretending that they're vampires. So if one of them dies in the sunlight, everyone will be like, oh, that's not an alien, it's a vampire. And, you know, it'll be this whole bluff thing. Meanwhile, vampires aren't even real or something, apparently. But the aliens are real. But we'll be thinking that the vampires are real because we see these fried eggs in Transylvania. When in reality, it's the aliens. And they've just like, they've got us. And we're no longer expecting it. We're trying to hunt for these vampires. We're burning people at the stake. Next thing we know, alien invasion. Alien invasion. They're to be honest, maybe they're just waiting. They're waiting for something very specific. They're waiting for my plan to blow up the sun to materialize, and once I do that, maybe that's when the alien invasion is going to start. Maybe they don't have the capabilities to like function that well. Like maybe they can't enact their plan within like 12 hours of night. Maybe they need it to be like a 24-hour plan, and so they need the sun to be gone before they can enact their plan for world dominance. So maybe they're waiting for me to blow up the sun. And once I blow up the sun, then the aliens are going to show face. I don't know if I'm scared about aliens showing face or if I'm excited about aliens showing face. I can't quite decide. I think that is when people will suddenly start, like, currently, like, oh, do we really need like a million sexualities? Like, who gives a damn? Is it not simple enough to say, I like boy bits, I like girl bits, I like a dangly bit, or I like a hole? Like, why does it need to be anything else other than that? Okay, it's as simple as that. Or okay, I like both, or I like none, whatever. But if we suddenly have aliens, suddenly we're going to need a million terms for sexuality, because I feel like they're going to have very peculiar looking bits. Or maybe multiple bits. Or maybe no bits at all. Like, if you're someone who's down to get down and dirty with some freakish octopus alien, is that bestiality? Is that a new sexuality? Like, what is this? I don't know how we define this. You know, I was watching a TikTok the other day. I hesitate to say that because TikTok's an awful place, despite me posting there at Dandy Ryan on there if you want to go check it out. Link in my bio. But I saw a TikTok the other day, and it was a vegan making the argument about morality and animals. And they were saying, okay, why is it acceptable to cut up, to like slaughter a cow, slaughter a pig, and eat it? But it would be considered more morally disgusting, reprehensible, and you'd be cast aside by society if you put your bits in one of these animals. Like if you done something sexual with one of these animals, and people say, oh, but consent. Animals can't consent. Okay, his point was that, well, they also can't consent to being eaten. If you were an animal, would you rather be slaughtered and cut up and eaten? Or have someone put their bits in you and go on with their day? And I thought, to be honest, I mean, I'm no vegan. I'll never be a vegan. I'll never be a vegetarian. But I thought that was a pretty interesting argument, and it's given me a lot to think about. Like I don't have a rebuttal for that.